to solve a few problems. So let's start. Look at this statement. Jack is an Indian. It is a simple statement which says that Jack is an Indian citizen. All Indians are smart. Obviously, a pretty simple statement. But if you combine these two statements, what does it tell you? Since all Indians are smart and Jack is an Indian, Jack has to be smart, obviously. So it tells us that Jack is smart. Now, these three are known as argument. An argument is a single comprehensive act of thought consisting of three propositions, two premises, and a conclusion. Now, a premise is a basic proposition that supports conclusion and upon the truth of which an argument is based. And a conclusion is the third proposition which gives us a judgment based on the support of two previous propositions. Now, for this argument to hold true, you will have to assume that the premise given is true. Likewise, look at the second premise. Even if you don't think that all Indians are smart, you will have to believe that all Indians are smart for the sake of this argument. Only then you can reach to a conclusion. So we can reach a conclusion based on the two premises given in the argument. So that's the complete structure. Two premises and one conclusion. You will have to assume that the premises are true, even if you don't think they are making sense or they don't seem to be true. For example, if I say all cats are dogs, if I say all cats are dogs and this is our premise, you will have to believe that all cats are dogs for the sake of this argument. I hope this is understood. Now let's look at the types of premises. So one type of categorization in premises is in terms of universal and particular. Universal is something that applies to all. Particular is for some specific people or things. The second categorization is in terms of affirmative and negative statements. So affirmative are the positive statements and negative are those that negate something. Let's look at universal affirmative. Statement like all A are B. It's universal because it talks about all and it's affirmative because it's a positive statement. Likewise, the universal negative will be no A or B. It means that A and B are disjoint sets. The third would be particular affirmative, a statement like some A or B. So it's a positive statement, but unlike universal, it is talking about some A, not all A. And the fourth and final would be particular negative. Some A are not B. A statement like some A are not B. And it is a negative statement, which is talking about some A, not all A. These four types are important to understand because all the statements or premises in syllogism questions can be classified into these four categories only. So let's look at them one by one and try to understand them using Venn diagram. Case 1. All A are B. Let's say this is set A. This would mean that all A are contained within B. B would be something like this. In terms of set theory, we can say that set A is a subset of set B. In fact, in this given figure, A is a proper subset of B. It means that B has got at least one extra element, but that's not all. There is another possibility. Look at this figure now. In this figure, A and B are shown to be equal. So this A as well as B. So A is a subset of B, but not a proper subset. So basically, these are the two possibilities that are covered under all A or B. In figure 1.1, in which B is the bigger set with one extra element, at least one extra element, and in figure 1.2, in which A and B are equal. You also need to remember that all A or B is different from all B are A. In all B are A, A would be the bigger set in figure 1.1 and B the smaller one. Now let's look at the second case. No A or B. This is actually simplest to understand. This is the figure. As you can see, these are disjoint sets. Means they do not overlap. So in the terms of set theory, there can be no element in A that is also there in B and vice versa. No A or B is same as saying no B or A. One could have inferred this looking at the symmetry in this figure. Another way of writing this is all A are not B. If we say all Indians are not cricketers, it doesn't mean that some Indians are cricketers and some are not cricketers. It means no Indian is a cricketer. Remember this. This is very important. Let's go to case 3 now. Some A are B. So this is A and this is B. In terms of set theory, there is at least one element that is both in set A and set B. That's the important area. This cannot be empty. In this figure 3.1, there are some elements that are only in A and B that are only in A, some elements that are both in A and B, and some elements that are only in B. Now look at this. 3.2. In this, the two sets are equal. So this is A as well as B. So just because we said some A or B, we cannot infer that some A are not B. So don't get confused with this. So for example, if we say some Indians are movie lovers, It doesn't mean that there are some Indians who do not love movies. We actually do not have any information about that. The only thing that we know is that some Indians are movie lovers. It might also mean that all Indians are movie lovers. This is what is precisely shown in 3.2. Look at the next one. In this, B is a proper subset of A. It means that A has got at least an extra element. So B is a smaller set. And look at this one now. Again, very similar to 3.3, but exactly the opposite. So in this case, B is the bigger set. So now B has got at least one extra element. So these are basically the four cases that sum up sum A or B. Another thing that you need to remember here is that sum A or B is same as saying sum B or A. It is obvious from the symmetry of these figures. 3.1 is symmetrical, 3.2 is symmetrical, and 3.3 and 3.4 are symmetrical with each other. Now let's go to our final premise. Case 4. Sum A or not B. Let's say this is A. Then this becomes B. But the condition here is that there is at least one extra element in set A that is not in set B. So this part here becomes important. This cannot be empty. Look at this now. There is another possibility that A and B are disjoint sets. So in this figure, sum A are actually not B. So this is also a valid case. Again, think of it like that. Just because sum A are not B, we cannot infer that sum A are B. Think of it with the help of an example. Let's take a statement like this. Some students are not intelligent. Now, if I'm saying this, it doesn't mean that some students are intelligent. No, we don't have any information about that. We just know that some of them are not intelligent. Now, it may very well mean that all of them are not intelligent. So, remember that. And now, this final one. You can see here that B is a proper subset of A. It means that all of B is contained within A and A has got at least one extra element as compared to B. So basically, these are the three cases that summarize sum A or not B. Please remember that sum A or not B is different from sum B or not A. Had been the latter, the figure 4.3 would have been different. B would have become the bigger set and A the smaller one. Hope that's understood. So that's the way we wind up today. In the next video, I will explain how we solve syllogism questions using Venn diagrams with the help of an example. Thank you for your patience. Have a great day. Bye-bye.